Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this random live that I've decided to do today on Tuesday. And today, the topic that I want to address is how to obey yourself versus obeying everyone else. And maybe even there is no versus, but I just want to compare these two attitudes or approaches that we take when it comes to obeying others, meaning obeying our commitment to others with others. We tend to behave such differently than when we obey our own commitments to ourselves, right? And therefore, this topic that keeps coming up so often in my own coaching as well, when I coach myself and when I coach other clients. In fact, today, one of the examples that my client was saying that she said that she really wants to go for a very high level job, and that will require her to do more disciplined work of doing certain things, getting ready, applying for it, and all of these things. And she was saying that everyone else sees her and knows her as someone who would do everything necessary to keep the promise. But when it comes to her own dreams and her projects, she just feels like she gets distracted. She goes for the shiny object syndrome of finding different things, or she just feels bored and she just doesn't do the necessary things to get herself to the next level of growth, right? So that's one of the examples that showcases that when it comes to obeying our commitments to others, we are, or honoring, right? Obeying is not the word that you like, maybe, then it would be honoring or respecting, valuing our commitments to others. We tend to do above and beyond, but when it comes to our own dreams and goals and whatever we want to achieve, we tend to not have any resources left, or we don't use the resources that we have to go for it. Another example that I coach several of my clients on is how they uh, tell themselves that they want to take care of themselves. They want to go to the gym and take time off and do other things, and working on their emotional health, and then they just, or physical health, and then they just feel like they don't honor those routines or activities. But this would never happen if it was for someone else, right? Um, and from these examples, we start seeing that we have most of the time conditioned to be so good at obeying our commitments to other people. And the reason why we tend to do that might be very many things, right? So some of the times it might be fear motivated reasons. So we're afraid of losing a job, we're afraid of getting a bad performance review by the supervisor, we are afraid of having a reputation of someone who's not really professional, right? So therefore we want to do our best and commit to those things. And some of the other times we want to do this because that's just how we want to show up as humans. We want to show up as reliable, as trustworthy, as someone who really gets things done, as someone who is keeping their promise. This is how we want to show up in relation to other people, or in a relationship with other people, right? That's how we really want to show up. Now, it's so different if you think about it than when we are going for transitioning, when we're going for the goals that we want to achieve. Maybe it's a promotion, maybe it's a going to the headquarter duty station, maybe going to another field duty station, or maybe it's going for work in the private sector, or maybe even it's something that we want to do on our own, and we want to be self-employed, and then we just tell ourselves, well, I'm not actually good at that, or I can't really do those things that I want to do, or I can't really follow through the decisions that I make. I'm very bad at commitment. I'm not good at consistency. I'm not really a persevering person. And these are all examples that I'm taking from my clients to showcase how much we haven't learned how to obey ourselves and our own dreams, how to honor that commitment to ourselves and our own dreams. And then one might wonder to say, why though, right? Why we have all of these amazing ways to show up when it comes to other people, but when it comes to ourselves, the way that we show up to ourselves oftentimes is not really doing the things that we said we would do, getting ourselves off the hook very easily, getting ourselves distracted to doing different things, maybe even beating ourselves up afterwards for not having done the thing that we said we would do, feeling guilty about it, and then telling ourselves that we're just not good at obeying ourselves. We're not good at honoring our commitment. We're not good at keeping our promise. If anything, we're good at sabotaging our own plans, right? Uh, and excuse me. And the problem that I see most often when we do this is that we just continue being then victim of our own circumstances, meaning we're not wanting to be where we want to be. We're not doing the job that we really want to do. We're not really changing things, and we're not really going for the other opportunities that we want to. We're not really believing that we can do that. We're not really believing that we're cut out for it, and we end up just undermining ourselves. We end up telling ourselves that we don't really have what it takes to go to that thing. Even though if someone else, a boss asks us to do that, we would make sure that it gets done, right? So we have that level of conviction, commitment, resources that we're willingly and readily to use, and we even like willing to research, find out how and when and what to do with it, and then willing to do all the things necessary, coordinate lots of different people, talk to different people, and solve the problems and get things done. And we're so good at that. And we're not willing to use those skills oftentimes when it comes to our personal goals or when it comes to our transitioning goals to something else. And and this is where I'm starting to see that the reasons why that is obviously one is we haven't really been conditioned or socialized or educated as children as growing up to really do that, right? So we haven't really learned how to do that with our own dreams, with our own goals. It's not that the work that we're doing is not ours, right? But at least when it comes to doing really that matters to us, doing it because it matters to us as a person, as a human, then we're not really learned how to do that, right? So that's one big chunk of not learning and not socializing and conditioned that way. The other way is we are so conditioned also to do things out of fear, right? Because of fear is involved in so many areas that we're not really aware of. Therefore, we're so good at obeying when it comes to commitment with others or when it comes to commitment with the employer, then we are so good at doing it. But then we try to maybe also apply fear to our own projects or to our transitioning goals. And we try to say, okay, now I want to apply this. If I don't do this, then I'm going to like punish myself, or I'm going to um, like I would try to I think find ways to impose pressure or fear, but then we're also so good at just letting ourselves off the hook and not do that. And we always find reasons for why we can't do that, right? As well, that we tend to say that, well, the reason why I don't do it is because my work is taking up all my time and energy. The reason why I don't do it is because um, something came up, someone asked me to do something, I couldn't say no, whatever it is, and then we're not really doing it. So knowing that this is the trend that we often have as humanitarians, but also I feel like it's not even a humanitarian um, like issue, let's put it this way. It's more like a human issue. It's across lots of different areas. One of the main way to solve this is willing to be uncomfortable. And this is something that I have been experiencing lately. And I'm also like consciously and on purpose being uncomfortable while doing it. So let me give you an example is that as you know, that I'm very good at achieving whatever goals when it comes to like transitioning, when it comes to creating my own work, when it comes to replicating my salary, when it comes to being with my loved ones. I have been able to achieve all of those and so much more, and I'm very grateful. And some people might say that, well, I'm actually good at obeying my own uh, goals and obeying or honoring my own commitments and doing this, right? Yes, that is true. And I'm wanting now to get to the next level of my growth in following through my decision, honoring my commitments, whatever the commitment that I said I would do, whatever the thing that I said I would do, like on the daily basis. Let's say that I told myself that I will work out twice per day, or I will do X amount of work hours here, and then the day comes and the time comes. It's so easy because I work for myself, and also because I don't really have any boss or anyone else requiring me or setting deadlines as to you have to do this and this is the deadline, right? I don't have any of those external factors that hold me accountable or keep asking me. So therefore, I am my own accountable person, and therefore I'm learning now, how do I honor everything that I said I would do, and I do that in the time and in the place that I said I would do it, right? I usually, the way that I work is that I tend to be like very free flowing, and it's amazing. I love that. But some of the times I also see the negative aspects of just free flowing and not doing certain things because that feels uncomfortable to do, even though it's necessary for the long term of what I'm trying to achieve. But still, you can see that when it comes to my own commitments or my own things that I said I would do, it becomes so much easier to get myself off the hook, right? It becomes so much easier to just say, well, I'm going to do this later. I'm going to do this then. I don't really feel like doing it. And as soon as I start doing all of these things, I notice then I become this unreliable person to myself, right? I become this unreliable person who can't really do the thing that I said I would do at the time. And of course, we can always say, like, well, you didn't do it one time. What's the big deal? And all of this. And I think that's how we start crumbling our trust in ourselves and instead start doing all the things that actually keep growing the other identity, which is I'm not really good at doing things that I said I would do. I'm not really good at keeping my promise that I said I would do to myself. When it comes to other people, I'm so good at it. When it comes to other people, I'm very professional about it. I can do things in the time, in the way that we have agreed and everything, and maybe even beyond. But when it comes to myself, I don't really do that, right? So therefore, the more I start observing myself as I um, say that these are the things that I do and then I don't. And because I have lots of reasons for not doing it in that moment, I could just reason saying, well, I'm just a free bird and I can do things whenever I want to. And that's true, except I'm also realizing that I want to be my own reliable person. I want to be reliable to myself. I want to be the person who does not mistreat my own resources, right? Or abuse my own resources. And I don't want to also postpone things to the later. I don't want to be the person who just does not do things that are important to me just because I'm avoiding discomfort. So that's why the number one uh, strategy that I'm taking now to work on this, where I learn so much more to obey myself, to commit to what I said I would do, to honor my commitments to myself, right? The way that I'm doing it is intentionally feeling uncomfortable. Intentionally feeling uncomfortable, meaning that as I go to that point and then it's in my calendar that, let's say that I need to go to the gym or I need to work out, and of course I don't want to do that in that moment. And in that moment I have a choice, right? I have a choice. Either I continue reinforcing the identity that I'm someone who's not reliable, which I don't want to be, because in the eyes of other people I'm very reliable, so why should I not be reliable to myself, right? So therefore in that moment when I have this doubt of do I do this, do I not do it, can I do it, I can do it later, da da da, when this type of conversations start happening in my brain, in that moment I'm reminding myself two things, right? So one is I'm wanting to be reliable to myself. I am someone who keeps her promise to herself, not only to other people but to herself as well, and I am willing to feel uncomfortable and doing it anyway. I'm willing to feel uncomfortable in the name of building my identity of being very reliable, because I no longer want to keep sabotaging myself and my dreams. I no longer want to keep this narrative that, oh, I'm just someone who can't really commit to the promises. I'm someone who can't really do the things that I said I would do. I'm someone who just gets off the hook because it's easier that way than living my life the way I want to. I'm someone who's just not in the mood of doing that hard work of applying for the job or for doing something else because I'm just avoiding feeling uncomfortable. And therefore, I don't want to be that person and keep like fueling that narrative, right? And I see that the more we keep fueling that narrative, the more we just feel like there's no other way. This is just how it is, and that's it. And the biggest challenge I feel in life is not even like the competition or other people that we're going against in some way or another, whether we're at work or we are in the competition place or in the job application place. It's not really that. It's more like, how do we overcome our own inner resistance? How do we overcome our own inner battles or inner obstacles that we keep having with ourselves? And in order to, instead of addressing that and deciding what to do about that, we just keep staying in circumstances that we don't want, because we're saying that if we leave this circumstance and go somewhere else, we're not going to be able to make it because we are not really good at committing and to doing hard things for ourselves, right? We're not really good at keeping the promise and overcoming the obstacles because we're not really wanting to feel uncomfortable by going and transitioning. So therefore, we are willing to feel uncomfortable being where we don't want to be. And that's, I find, the most difficult to digest, is that if our heart and soul is wanting really something else and we believe that that's really where we should go for, this is really the long term good idea to do that, but then we just not doing all of this because we're unwilling to feel uncomfortable, even though we are willing to feel uncomfortable in the known environment, but we're just unwilling to feel uncomfortable in the unknown environment, right? So therefore, I have found the the best solution that I can offer to anyone who is struggling, basically, like my client was saying this morning, is that she has so many podcasts that she listens to, and never implements, right? Or she has so many ways that she learned things and she has all the theoretical knowledge of all the things of how to solve this, how to solve that. And in the end, though, she doesn't do that. And the only reason why she's not doing it is because she believes about herself being someone who just doesn't obey herself, obey her own dreams and plans, meaning does not honor and commit to doing the things that she said she would. And she's just unwilling to feel uncomfortable, just the way I was describing about my own experience. So that's why I feel like we only need to get um, two things practiced before we even go and transition to something else, is recognizing that if we are willing to feel uncomfortable, we are willing to overcome lots of obstacles and keep going towards what we want to. And the more we go towards what we want to, the more confidence we build that we are someone who actually says or does the things that we say we would. We are actually reliable on relying on ourselves to doing things the way we want to. And therefore, the more we rely on ourselves, the more we trust ourselves, the more, again, um, guarantee we feel within ourselves to go for what we want, right? Excuse me. And that's when we stop really searching for all the other external circumstances to guarantee us whether we can do it or not. We will start realizing that if I'm able to do this with other people, right, just the way I was telling you before, if I am so good and professional and respectful and valuing their time to doing things that I said I would with other people, then surely I can do that with myself if it wasn't for these narratives of how I'm this and I'm that and I'm that and keep reinforcing that. Let's not keep reinforcing the narrative we don't like. And therefore, let's reinforce the narrative that I'm someone who's reliable. I'm someone who no longer abuses her own resources. I'm someone who treats myself with respect, with value, with that professionalism that help us to get to what we want to. And let's be willing to feel uncomfortable, even intentionally, to go for what we want. So that's why, if you allow me to give you a homework for this week to work on, if you feel like you are in this category, like me, being the person who's not really good at relying on herself, himself, but so good at being reliable to others, then this is the homework. Let's get uncomfortable in doing whatever thing that we said we would and start keeping that evidence to how we are the people who can do that. And then start feeling this reliability within us, this trust within us, the confidence within us, then to keep moving towards the transitioning that really matters to us. Okay, my dears, if you would like to work on this, I have several spots open for my individual coaching. I would love to have you come coach with me. And also, of course, you can come work with me in my group with other humanitarians. I would love to coach you there as well. So have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you very soon.